we try to interrupt the buying cycle at the wrong point. We try to convince people. We try to create awareness, then move people to consideration, then try to get them to intend to hire us, then get the purchase, and then get loyalty. We're trying to make people aware that they have a problem. Why? Why not find people who are already aware of their problem and are already considering hiring somebody? That's where I get people. My content makes them aware. That's what your content is for, awareness. That's what your content is for, consideration. That's not what sales calls are for. That's not what sales pages are for. I am not convincing anybody they need a coach. If people are in my DMs, I don't know if I need a coach, honey. You in the wrong place. I am not convincing you need a coach. I want people who want to be coached. If you're an attorney, stop begging people to get estate plans. Find people who care about their legacy and their children. Stop begging people. It's off brand. And it pulls you out of an abundant energy into a scarce energy, because now you feel like you pulling teeth. And even if you do get someone to pay you like that, you won't be able to get loyalty from them. You won't be able to get a repeat customer out of somebody you had to badger. I just closed the cart, and there was a young lady in my DMs that was literally trying to convince me to convince her to get in my program. I was like, I'm not doing it. Here's the link. Hope to see you inside. Cart closes this date and this time.
So earlier you hinted that you weren't always aware of how much power you had over how much you could earn.
True.
Tell me about the type of work that you had to do to get there.
I'm kind of atypical. I just put stuff out there. I think I'm just bolder than most people because I knew I didn't know what I didn't know. And to me, my mom was a biology major, okay? She taught me the scientific method. She taught me about primary and secondary data. She told me if you don't know the answer to a problem, you probably don't have enough data. So I decided to create some data. I literally, with no market research, with no formula, with no coach, put a dollar amount on an offer. I think it was $1,000 for 4 weeks of coaching on budgeting and saving. I just put myself out there as a finance coach and pitched 4 people $1,000 service. One of them said yes. She was a nightmare. And so I decided I was going to price myself out of that headache, that I wasn't selling another thing at $1,000 because $1,000 don't work. Maybe 1,500 works, maybe 3,000 works, maybe 5,000 works. And that's what I did in the beginning because I didn't have a basis to draw from. I'd never been an entrepreneur before. Now you can get all these fancy formulas and calculators and your expenses, your revenue, and how much profit you want. You can type all these numbers in, it'll spit stuff out. But for me, I had to feel it. I had to be confident at the level I could deliver for people. And you learn things. You learn what kind of software works and what kind of software doesn't. You learn what kind of client you really don't want. You learn that if you offer a payment plan, you get a different kind of client than if you force people to pay in full. You learn that when people pay in full, they show up fully. They show up differently. When people have thousands invested up front, they show up differently than people who are making monthly payments. So this is only things you learn when you have data. The problem is most people are too afraid to make a mistake. So they won't even put any offer out there. They're fearful of everything. They're like, what if it's wrong? You know what? Maybe my first offer was wrong. Maybe it was bad, but thankfully it was only 4 weeks. So if it sucked, it sucked. You can do anything for 4 weeks, right? Just don't build yourself. I wouldn't tell someone to start off with a 1 year, $12,000 mastermind. I probably wouldn't tell somebody to start there because without any data on one, how do you make a group with 20? How do you make a big cohort? But I think some action is better than inaction. And I think what I did better or different than most people is I took an action and I stuck to it. And if I didn't like my outcome, I just chose a different action. But then I had data to build on. You got to get a preliminary piece of data.
So for listeners who have a 9-to-5, do you have any tips on how they can earn more?
You should take your 9-to-5 income and maximize it. If you're not putting money into your 401k, you should be. I just read a report that only 34% of Black households participated in the stock market run of the last 2 years, as opposed to 61% of white households, about half. And we have exposure to 401ks. If you have a business idea, let your company start funding that. Go ahead and start getting numbers. How much would it be for a website? How much would it be for a coach? How much would it be for a bookkeeper? How much would it be for an accountant? How much would it be to have contracts drafted from an attorney? And maybe go ahead and start buying those investments. So that way, when you do leave your job, if you leave your job, because everybody doesn't even want to leave your job, if you leave your job, you can already have some things in place. I would advise before anybody quit anything that they have 6 months of living expenses saved. I'm not team quit your job. I'm not team listen to Natalie, get real inspired and go tell your boss off. I don't believe in that. I think that's foolish. I think you should have a cushion, especially if you have children. I think you should always have a backup plan. Dust off your resume and make sure that you could go back in the workplace if need be. Quit your job the right way. Give them a notice and be rehireable. Get you some references. Network and meet with people. See what's out there and ask yourself, do you really hate this job or have you just not maximized it? I got everything from my job. I use my tuition reimbursement. I use my FSA card to save on my health insurance. Go pull out your benefits book and really look at the corporate benefits that your job offers you. It's very likely that there's something there that you could be using, internal files or memos. Maybe there's a mentorship program. Maybe there's financial counseling or coaching. My firm actually had a number we could call to get personalized financial coaching. If you work for a big company, you likely have a benefit that you're not even using. So build wealth while you have your W-2 job. Don't look at it as wasting time. That's what makes me sad when people go, oh, I hate all the years I wasted in corporate. I don't, because if I hadn't been in banking, I wouldn't know how to be a good financial coach. I wouldn't know the pitfalls out there. I wouldn't know what to tell people to say when they go to the bank and apply for a loan. I wouldn't have seen firsthand how Black people are being completely excluded from these conversations. I wouldn't have started my own firm. So none of that time was wasted. None of that money was wasted. It was a blessing. I hate to hear people, oh, I hated my job and I got nothing out of it. I wasted my time. You missed the lesson. And if you think entrepreneurship is easier, better, or less time consuming on the front end, you are in for a rude awakening. Okay, if you got a job where you can clock in and clock out, you blessed. Do the best with what you have and work towards what you want.
So for any of the dreamers listening, ready to change their money mindset, what are 3 to 5 steps that they can take today to start developing the mindset that will help them step into the wealthy life that they deserve?
1, they need to stop caring what other people think about them. As my mother would tell me, what other people think about you is none of your business. 2, they need to up-level their circle. As my father, Nathaniel Johnson, would say, if you hang around 4 broke people, you sure to be the 5th. Do you hang out with people who live lives that you aspire to? If not, you need to change. 3, stop counting people's pockets. Don't worry about who can afford what. Just put your offer out there. If God called you to do it, if you envision it, if you want it, do it. Stop letting broke people talk you out of being rich. Stop commiserating with people who you hate your job. So y'all go in the break room and commiserate together about how you hate your job. Now what? Y'all still got the same job, right? So if you want to get out of your job, you need to start talking to entrepreneurs who quit their job. Get around people who are doing better. And honestly, let go of the idea of perfectionism. It doesn't exist. Only God is perfect. Perfect is boring on humans. It serves no purpose. Everybody knows it's fake and phony because no one could be perfect. And so you immediately lose trust with people when you tell them you want to be perfect. You want to wait till it's perfect. You're losing money every day you don't make a decision. Either way, 10 years from now, you will have lost an immeasurable amount of money because you didn't launch. So I would tell them to launch something now, whatever that thing is that brings them up and gives them joy until they can leap, if they're planning to leap, or until they can fall back in love with their job, which I have seen done.
So Natalie, I'd like to end the interview with a round of rapid fire questions. Tell me about a book that changed your perspective on life.
Atomic Habits.
What's one thing about money you wish you could tell your younger self?
Buy shares of Apple stock.
What's the best investment in yourself you've made so far?
I hired a business coach, Darnielle Jervy Harmon.
Filling the blank in 3 words or less. Money to me is?
Freedom.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Uplifting and eradicating poverty in the Black community.
Love that. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Please tell the dreamers where to find you.
Yes, I'm having a rebrand. By the time you hear this, you will be able to go to nataliebullen.com and see the new site. You can follow me on Instagram at Unapologetic Wealth, or you can join my Facebook group, Unapologetic Wealth for Entrepreneurs.
All right. Thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you.